Hey guys, welcome to another episode of our Hervey's Chop Shop. So this episode is taking off straight from the end of the last episode, so you can see I've got two Corollas behind me. Let's get stuck into it. So I think what I'm going to do is pull the white one apart because it doesn't run very well. So pull the white one apart and then pull the purple, red, blue, white one apart and then swap it across. Alright, so this probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I'm going to start on the inside of the white one. So it's already got the column surround off, the key barrel's already out. I'm going to have to do the pedals eventually anyway. So I'm going to start with the shifter. You have to disconnect that before I can pull the trans out. So take that off. This center console section is broken and the lid is ripped off. So I'll take all of this out, take the shifter off, and then move on to the other stuff. Already making money back. $2. Alright, so we got the center console out, the shifter surround, and that radio blank. So I did notice when I was taking the radio blank out, someone's cut a hole in the back of this. So you literally put your stuff in there and roll straight at the back. So either have to get a new one of these or do something to cover that up. You can see someone's cut it, which is pretty annoying because it is actually in good condition. The shifter part is in good condition. One of the tabs did come off when I undid the bolt, but I've still got the tab, so I should be able to fix that. The front section, the back section is knackered, so it's split right there, you can see, and the lid's knackered, so that's going to have to go in the bin. I have to get a new one or run without it. So that brings me back here. Can run without it, it'll be ugly, but for the time being, there is some more money down there, which I can't get to. But I'm going to have to take the carpet out anyway because I want to clean it because it's disgusting. So seats will come out. The seat that I'm sitting on has collapsed, so I need to fix that as well anyway. So this seat's going to have to come out. I may as well do this seat while I'm in it. Take the carpet out, clean that, get the money out, vacuum everything because it's all just disgusting. There's just clumps of stuff, just gross muck. So anyway, clean that, and then I need to do the pedals anyway and put a new column on, and then I'll probably take the dash out anyway because I'm an idiot. So probably do that as well. But for now, that's where I'm at. So I need to undo the shifter from the bottom. It's in neutral currently, so at least I can push the car, take the handbrake off. Need to unbolt that. Once it's out from underneath the car, I can take that out. And then I'll start a pile of things that I don't need, so I'll chuck them in the boot or something. And then once I get the other car apart, I can start putting the manual stuff straight into this. So I might tackle the pedals next. I don't know. I can't decide. I might do the pedals and maybe do this as well, so we can at least get all of the interior out and ready for manual stuff. So I've probably changed my mind since I picked up the camera last, which was about 3 seconds ago. The driver's seat's out. I've just got some tools, so I'm going to take the shifter, or unbolt the shifter as best I can from up the top, and then start working on the pedal box. Alright, so the shifter is undone. There's 4 10mm bolts, so undo those. Then on the end of this, there is a split pin. Just down there you can see the little nippley bit. So that is the split pin. Taking that out, give this a wiggle. Give that a wiggle, and it should come out pretty easily. Obviously a lot easier if you have 2 hands. So that's out, we don't need that. And there we have a nice hole for the shifter. Whether it lines up or not is a different question. It'll probably be about there, just to be really annoying. So these are the wires for the reverse light, I assume, and probably the start signal wire, because the car has to be in neutral or park to crank over. So we'll sort these out. One will plug into the manual gearbox, assuming that one, and these 2 I'll have to bridge to tell it is in neutral or park. So that's it, on to the pedals. So something a lot of people don't understand is how the ignition barrel was held in. So this one I don't have a key for, but it's flogged out anyway, so any key will work, probably a screwdriver. So what you do is you put, obviously this goes in here, put the key on, or a key to accessories, so turn this one around to accessories. You need to push this button here, which is through this little hole just here. So push that, I'll just use the split pin, and then pull the ignition barrel out. So that gives you access to, in there, there's a small flat blade screwdriver looking thing, and that turns this. So you can just unbolt this and start your car, which is a bit sketchy, but that's the 80s. So yeah, that just bolts on the back. You can unbolt that, start your car, but you'll still have the steering lock. So now, having undone the ignition barrel, there will be no steering lock. So this car now can roll and be free. So what I need to do is get the other one, which is in storage, and put it in here, and then swap all the door locks over as well to make this car have locks again. So I haven't done a pedal box swap in a K70 before, but I've done it in another car, so it should be reasonably similar. So you need to undo the ducting which is in the way, and then take the, so this is the brake return spring, so that just goes this way in the car up the top. So just take that off, that makes your life a little bit easier. And then take this pin out which goes through the brake pedal and through the fork on the master or the booster. So take that out, and then the pedal is free to do its own stunts. And then now it looks like we're going to have to take the steering column out to unbolt the pedal box. So that's a little bit annoying, but it has to get undone at the other end to get the cross member out with the engine. So if I undo the other end and undo this end, it's coming out anyway, so it's not too hard. So what I'm going to do before I get to that stage, undo the indicator stalk, which is this clip here, and then any other wires I can see, which would be the key barrel or the ignition switch, which seems like it's disconnected anyway because I did that before. And then I'll have to undo some bolts up here, some bolts down there, and then the uni joint on the rack. So undo all of those and get the column out. Alright, so I've got the steering column out. There's 2 bolts here, so take the nuts off of those. There's 2 12mm down there, and then there's a 12mm on the uni joint. So just crack those two, or sorry, take those two out, take those two out, take the one on the uni joint out, then turn the whole column around. So there's a little nub here, like a little dent, and the same over here. So you got to line that up on the column and then pull it straight out. So that was easy enough. Then I've taken the 4 bolts out around the master cylinder, the pin that I was talking about before, and 1 bolt from directly straight up. So now to find out what else is holding in the pedals. So there's 2 bolts here, which I can see, and it looks like there's another 2 up further against the firewall. So I'm gonna have to take out the surround and then take out the bolts that I can see. So I've just started by taking the surround off. So there's a bunch of screws. So there's 2 here, 1 there, 2 over here, 5 across the top. Ridiculous. So anyway, got that off, and then you got to take the 2 nuts off of here and the knobs as well, and then pull the whole thing off. Some force required. So that's over there, which is broken anyway, but the other one I think is good, so we'll see how we go. So next I'll take this out. So there's just 4 screws on this one in the corners. Alright, so that's easy enough. Just put your hand up on the left hand side of the steering column, and then there is the speedo cable. So it's just that one tab here. Press that, push it in, and then pull the whole thing back. Then pull the cluster out, and then there's these 3 plugs, so those 2 and that one up there. That's easy enough. And now I can get to this bolt here, which you can't really see very well. The same on the other side, and these 2 little ones up the top. So hopefully those two, pedals come out. I hope. Of course, there's more. So I've got those 4 that I was just talking about out, those 2 and those 2. There's another 2, one up there and one up there. So I'm probably going to have to take this off, get those 2 out. What a pain in the bum. So those last 2 bolts really sucked. I got this one out, no worries, obviously. I had to take one out over there. Probably didn't have to take it out, but I ended up bending this whole tube out the way so I can get to the top 2 bolts. And it was still a bit of a pain, so I don't know how you're supposed to do it. Probably take the whole dash out or not have air conditioning, which would make my life a lot easier, but I'll fix that when I put it back together. Just put a kink in it here, so I'll fix that. But the pedals are out. So that's all the auto stuff gone. The pedals, the shifter, and now there's the trans left, which is still in there obviously, but that'll come out with the engine. Alright, so I'm all done on the inside for now. Got the auto pedal box, the auto shifter. I've thrown the seat and the steering column back in the car, and I'll bolt it in or anything. And there's a few pieces over there that I'll still need later. So into the engine bay. So I'm going to start pulling this apart and get it ready for removal, and then I'll start doing the same on the other car, and then I can pull the engines out when I get another day that's free. So first up, I've got to work out what I don't want in the engine bay. So I don't need the battery, don't need the radiator and the fan, don't need the fuel, which is pretty much disconnected anyway. I don't need the coil wire, so I'll just pull that off and pop it over the side. I don't need the exhaust, which I think that's attached, I can't remember. And then I'll have to take the heater lines off of the firewall, and then this whole section should be good to come out. I also have to take the air conditioning pump off of the engine and put it off to the side so that I can reuse it later. Then get the bracket off the engine, put that on the new engine. That's easy enough. Other than that, I should be able to disconnect the wiring just up there, and it should all be reasonably straightforward. So let's see. So that's the end of today. So I've taken the radiator out, taken the fan off, the fan shroud, disconnected the air conditioning from the mount, taken the fuel pump off, taken the air conditioning mount off the engine, then taken the trans lines off the radiator, obviously, tucked them over the top. There's an earth strap at the back, an earth strap on the side, taking those off. The fuel system was pretty much in a bottle anyway, so that's gone as well. Taken the accelerator cable, the choke cable, and the speedo out. And then on this side, got the aircon lines running around the side, taking the heater lines off the front, and they're all attached to the car still. So what I still have to do is the wiring for the alternator, the wiring for the starter motor, the exhaust, and then the engine mounts, and then the trans mount and the tail shaft. So that should be reasonably simple. So I was going to get under the car to do that, so it should be pretty easy. I just got to get on jack stands and then either cut the exhaust off or unbolt it if I can, and then do the trans mount, do the front two mounts, lift it out. So originally I was going to drop the whole lot out the bottom, which would be reasonably easy and is pretty much ready to do it right now. But I still need to be able to push the car because I've only really got enough room on the concrete for one car. So if you look over there, I've really only got enough room for one car on the concrete. So I need to push it over there, pull the engine out, push the shell out of the way, get the purple one or the red one or whatever you want to call it, back in, do the same job, take the engine out, roll that out of the way, roll the white one back in, put the engine back on. Copy. So yeah, bit of a pain in the ass, but this is almost there. The ignition is also out over the side, so it's all about ready. Just need to move it over to the concrete and pull it out. But I won't do that just yet. So still need to do the same thing to the red car, or the burgundy car, or the purple car, whatever you want to call it. So get the engine ready to come out, go through, take the shifter out, take the plate off, pull the steering column out, pull the pedals out, all of that stuff, do all of that to this, and then swap it all into this one. So that's probably tomorrow afternoon. I'll probably get that to that stage and maybe have one of the engines out if I get really motivated. If not, then it'll be another day and I'll just pull this engine out, pull that engine out, put that one in here, and then put that one somewhere else out the way. Probably get the engine in this and then start slowly putting everything back together on another day. So tomorrow, probably pull this one apart, and then another day, so say the next day I have off, pull this engine out, pull that engine out, put that one in here, and get it done. So we're getting there. It's only been a couple of hours, so I haven't really done a whole lot of work, but the white car is pretty much ready for its donor engine and driveline. So the main reason for this purple one and the white one is I need a car to drive because I might be selling the Lexus in a week. So if I sell the Lexus, I'll have nothing to drive. So the day that this is posted, which is a Wednesday morning, always, I will be in Melbourne. So I'll be hopefully driving the new car back, which I'll show you in the next episode next week. But hopefully today, in present time, these will be won and running. So I have a week to get these two running from now, but you're seeing it in a week from now. So that's confusing. But this should be running shortly. So hopefully this is done by the end of this episode. Otherwise I am in trouble. Alright, so I've just finished work, just got home. Day number 2. Let's get the engine bay in this thing stripped, and then the interior or the other way around. But let's get this one stripped to the stage we got this one to yesterday, and then go from there. Alright, so I'm going to start with the interior of this one. I'm trying to hide from the sun for a couple of hours while it goes down, and then I'll get into the engine bay, same as I did yesterday. So this is a before, and I'll show an after when I'm all done. Alright, so it's been a bit over an hour. I've got the steering column out, the gauge cluster surround, the gauge cluster, the manual pedal box, the shifter surround, the entire dash, and pretty much everything else associated with the dashboard all apart. So this is pretty much everything I think I'm going to need for the white car. So I am going to swap the dash over because it's not a huge amount of work, and it'll just make the car a lot nicer. So I'll do that as well. And then I pulled that off and realised that the bottom section is actually separate and is also a different colour, so I've pulled that out as well. So we'll swap that as well. So I'm going to have to do that to this car at some point, but it's, you know, it's started anyway, so there's not a whole lot left to do. But I'm going to have to remember how it all goes back together. So moving into the engine bay, I'll start on this now and pull everything out, get it ready to pull the engine out. So it's been under 20 minutes and we've got the radiator out, the electric fan off, the top and bottom radiator hoses out, and all the other crap that we did yesterday. So this engine's pretty much ready to come out. So I've still got to go the exhaust, and the cross member and the gearbox cross member, same as on the white car, and I still have to do the alternator and starter motor wiring, also same as the white car. So this one's pretty much ready to come out. That one's pretty much ready to come out. So that's all that's left to do, so let's get stuck in. Alright, so I've moved the white K70. I had to pump up the tyres, they're all completely dead flat. I pushed it about 2 car lengths, gave up, and then towed it with the Lexus. So it's now on the concrete, enough to get the engine out. So gotta get the engine crane out, and I'll bring it around the front. I may have to take the bonnet off to get the height for the engine. And I'll also jack the car up so I can get underneath it and undo the gearbox cross member mounts. So I keep forgetting to film stuff, but I've got the K70 on jack stands. I've taken the exhaust off, the tail shaft off, the speedo cable off, another 2 earth straps off of the trans, then dropped all that down and rested on the jack, and then undone the 2 engine mounts and started pulling the engine out. So this is where we're up to. I've still got to do the alternator wiring and the starter motor wiring, but I'm just trying to get it up to a height where I can get in there. So we're about there now. Just got those 2 things to undo, and then I've just got to snake it out of the engine bay because the exhaust is still, the front half is still on, so it's going to be a bit of a tight squeeze, but once we get there, I'll update. There it is, it's out. Thank goodness for that. So auto, 4K, doesn't run very well. It's out of the car with most of the exhaust. I spilt a whole lot of water here, and then the engine bay is all nice and empty. So I'm going to keep pulling things out of this that I don't need, and I'm going to clean it all up. So that'll probably do me for today once I've done that, and then tomorrow I'll pull the other engine out of the other car. Alright, so I've been home for 3.5 hours at this point. The engine's out. Made a mess. The engine bay is clean, degreased, pressure washed, empty, ready for the new engine. It's about as good as it's going to come up really, which is fine. And then walking over to the other one, I've pulled everything out of the inside that I'm going to need. Maybe a few little pieces left in there, but most of the stuff. And this engine's pretty much ready to rip out. So just got to do the wiring on this side, the bolts on the gearbox cross member, the bolts on the engine, and pull it out. So same as I just did to the white one, which took me about an hour. So tomorrow afternoon, pull this one out. Alright, so it's day number 3. Last night, once I was finished playing with the white Corolla, Dale came around and we pushed that back out the way and brought the red one around. So I've got it up on jack stands at the moment, and I was told there was 86 front end in this, so I took a wheel off, and it does in fact look like it's 86 front end. So 51mm strut tube, and these hubs have the AE casting on the back of them. So I'll get into more detail and have a closer look once I'm finished with this reshell. So tonight, pull the engine out of this car. This marquee is really noisy. So pull the engine out of this car, pull the dashboard and the interior out of this car, and then start putting the interior back together on that and see if I can clean up the engine or if I have to seal anything before I can put it back in. So the engine's out. I've chucked some stockies on the front and taken the front steelies off. I'll put those on the white car. I spilled some more gearbox water, but this is ready to go for now. So I'm just going to put it back on the ground, turn the wheels a little bit, and roll it out the way of the white one, and then bring the white one forwards and start working on that. Alright, so things have escalated slightly. The white car has no carpet. The dash is all out. And all the parts are in the back seat. The back seat's loose, but all the parts are on it, so I haven't taken it out yet. Got my $2.10 that was down the carpet. So now I can vacuum all of this out, which is actually really good considering, but there's a bit dirty around here, so I'll clean it up. And then I'll give everything under the dashboard a clean quickly, just to get rid of a lot of the dirt and the smell and gunk. Got the seats out. The engine bay is all clean and ready for the new engine. Harley's inspecting the carpet for me, so I'm going to pressure wash that and clean that as well. Then we've got the old motor and the new motor with the 5-speed. So this exhaust hits the floor, so I'm probably going to have to deal with it. Chop it up here somewhere and move it across because it's going to annoy the hell out of me. Depends if I keep this car for a while or if I just flip it. So I'll get it together as it is and then work out the exhaust afterwards. So I still need the tail shaft off this car. Take the auto one off this, put it in, put the engine in, put the gearbox on, blah blah blah. So I just got to clean this and make sure that it doesn't leak and make sure it's all good, which I'll do later. For today, I'm just going to clean the carpet and maybe put the pedals in and start putting this car back together with a dash and interior. So I've just started pressure washing the carpet. I gave it a quick soak with the hose and then chucked some dishwashing liquid on it because that's all I've got at the moment. And then now I've just been pressure washing it. I've got it hanging up so it runs off the bottom. So I've done this quarter, which is in the shade. So I've done that quarter and you can see how clean it is. So that's the passenger side front. And then this is the driver's side front, which I haven't done anything for yet. You can kind of see how filthy it is. So it's come up heaps better. And once it gets in the car, I'll get it into the right shape and then I'll be able to vacuum it anyway. And then that's the back too, which I haven't touched either. So you can see it's absolutely filthy. The shade is not helping me at the moment, but yeah, it's filthy, trust me. So I finished pressure washing the carpet. It's come up a whole lot better. So it's now on the roof of the K70 just drying out. The roof was in kind of garbage condition anyway, so it doesn't matter. While I had the pressure washer out, I cleaned the front wheels and put those on. I also gave the inner arch a bit of a blowout just to try and clean things up. So the other side is on there as well. So I still need to do the back ones, so I'm going to get them off the car. And I also would like to clean the dashboard and the dash pad. So I'll pull those over here, take anything electronic off of them, give them a pressure wash because they are filthy. And how often do you get to do that? So bring them out, get them pressure washed, let them dry, and then I'll start on the inside of the interior. Alright, so I don't know where I was up to last time, but the wheels are on the front, not on the back. The carpet is drying. I flipped it over, the top was dry, so I flipped it over and the underlay's a bit damp. The inside's coming together. So the carpet's not dry, so I can't put all of it in. And I also forgot about the A-pillar, so I have to pull that off, and I'd like to do it before I put the dash in properly. But I've put the bottom half of the dash structure in, put the pedals in, which I did first because that's the way it's supposed to be done and it's so much easier. And if you doubted me, I don't blame you because I doubted me too. I replaced that section for the venting from the other car. So we got the pedals in, just need to put the accelerator pedal in and some of the dashboard. So tomorrow, put the carpet in, replace that A-pillar, put the dash pad on, or start putting the dash back together, I don't know what order, and then try and get the inside back together tomorrow. So today's Thursday, so Friday put the interior together, Saturday probably look at the engine, so I'll clean everything up, see what needs doing. So it might just need a seal or it might need a bit more than that, who knows. So I'll clean it all up. Then Saturday maybe put the engine in. And then Tuesday I'm leaving to go to Melbourne. So I've got Sunday, which will probably be with them, Monday afternoon if I'm not working, to try and get this back together. So this episode is probably pretty long, so I'll call it here. So thank you for watching and we'll see you next week.